All right, everyone, that was the second match of the day, Revolution. Moving on, and the 4th District leaving the tournament. So, can I throw something out there? I'll be completely honest. I didn't really get the Revolution setup.
It was an interesting choice of ships. I don't know how the sacrileges really kind of fit into that team, but it seemed to have worked. Although I kind of think it was more of a misplay by 4th District that it worked, really.
Oh, how come?
You know, at a point there when they started losing thoraxes, they were trying to, you know, break through the reps of the Oneros, and they weren't having enough damage to do it. Thoraxes were their main damage. The Rooks really don't do that much. At that point, they probably should have realized we have a lot of jammers. They're running a lot of ECCM. If we're going to break something, we have to get that Oneros jammed. And they have a lot of ECM on the field, but it was spread amongst everybody. To me, you kind of got to go all in on the Oneros, jam it out, and then you can blast through something and maybe turn the match.
Yeah, once they had lost the damage of those 3 thoraxes, like they were in really bad trouble. The 2 key things of any ECM setup is, of course, 1, the ECM, but then almost more important is having the damage to actually kill stuff, because the ECM is only going to hold people off for so long. You're eventually going to miss jams, especially with a team with so much ECCM like the Revolution setup had.
Yeah, I guess I have to agree with this this occasion.
Whoa.
Usually, I mean, traditionally,
Crazy talk?
traditionally ECM teams are quite low on damage, and that's one of the reasons they're not very popular nowadays anymore. You miss some jams and you're in trouble. We kind of called that the target calling was a little bit weird on the Revolution's part, but as it turns out, it was actually quite smart to go for those thoraxes first. They correctly called that those Rooks probably didn't have any damage mods whatsoever in the lows and had no damage whatsoever. So once those 3 thoraxes died, it was game over for them, essentially.
And of course, just while you guys continue talking, we do have the stats on screen for people to follow.
And they had to walk into that match rubbing their hands as soon as they saw the other team. They had so much ECCM running on their setup. Like, they just sort of had to have been like, oh, wonderful. We're all firing. Like, they're very rarely jamming us. Very few ships were dropping DPS there. Just take out the damage, and their jams aren't really doing anything to you.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, you know, we talked about those sacrileges being kind of a weird choice in that setup, but, you know, since they were armor tank, they probably were running quite a bit of ECCM in the mids. Of course, we don't know that for sure, but would suspect so, since they were getting good locks and killing stuff quite quickly.
So how does this ECM setup work?
I think the theory
Well, it doesn't.
Yeah, well,
How does it in theory work?
in theory, you use the ECM to lock down as many of your opponents' damaged ships or E-war ships as you can, and let the thoraxes go to work, kind of chainsawing their way through. But in this case, you know, with as much ECCM as Revolution were running, the jams were just fairly ineffective, and they started losing ships one by one, and it just kind of collapsed like a house of cards eventually.
Yeah, what we kind of see the meta being moved towards in the last couple of years is where we see ECM being used and still being successful is with those Tinker setups, where you're running sometimes bonused or unbonused jams, but you're doing it with the view of kind of getting a couple of the damaged ships out so that you have enough tank to sustain your reps.
And this is a really vulnerable setup in terms of losing ships, isn't it?
Yes. So pretty much as soon as you start losing jams, losing the ships that are doing the jams, it just starts cascading out because you start missing more and more jams on the other team. I should, for the layman, those just tuning in, explain ECM in the most basic of terms. It's essentially, I have a, I'll explain it later on.
You know, we'll do it after the next match. We do actually, so in the first part here before the break, this is one of the most exciting matches coming up. It's Outbreak versus Circle of Two. This is 2 of the really good teams we have in the tournament that somehow ended up down in the losers bracket. But let's get some predictions.
I'm going to go with the odds-on favorite Outbreak.
With betting sites, the odds-on favorite is actually Circle of Two. And a lot of people out there disagreeing with you, at least last I looked. I'm actually thinking Circle of Two as well. Some of the Outbreak guys misplayed pretty badly in their first match, and frankly, I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm wondering if that's going to happen again, so I'm going to go with Circle 2.
Yeah, Circle of Two has traditionally been a pretty strong tournament team. They've done some weird and wacky setups, but I think this time around I'm going to go with Outbreak. I don't think they've pulled their best setups out of the hat yet, and I think now's the time they are, and they're going to roll with it.
All right, I think I might go with Circle of Two because they do tend to, I mean, they've brought out Alliance Tournament prize ships and everything, and I was going to say something that they have massive body parts, but I'm not going to say that on stream. So it'll be a Circle of Two for myself, but let's see how it goes.